I still remember the exact moment my stomach dropped. The house was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silent. The kind that makes you feel like something is wrong before you even know what it is. I had driven 6 hours to get home for Thanksgiving. Classes were finally over for the week, and I was excited to see my family. The moment I stepped onto the porch, something felt off. The lights were out. The windows were dark. And the front door was unlocked. "Mom," I called as I stepped inside. No answer. The air felt cold. Much colder than it should have. I walked into the kitchen and saw a piece of paper sitting on the table. A note. I picked it up. My smile disappeared immediately. It read, "We're in Cancun. You'll handle Grandma. Back next week." That was it. No explanation. No phone number. No apology. Nothing. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. Then I realized it wasn't. My parents, my brother, my sister, all of them had left for a vacation. And somehow nobody thought it was important to tell me. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because a few seconds later, I heard a weak sound coming from the living room. A sound that changed everything. Grandma on the floor. "Help!" The voice was barely a whisper. I ran toward the living room and froze. My grandmother was lying on the floor beside her recliner, wrapped in blankets, shivering. The room was freezing. The heater wasn't running. The lamp wasn't on. Even worse, her phone wasn't anywhere nearby. "Grandma." I dropped to my knees beside her. Her hands were ice cold. Tears filled her eyes when she saw me. "Emily," she whispered. My heart broke. "What happened?" She tried to sit up but couldn't. "I fell yesterday." Yesterday. The word hit me like a truck. Yesterday. That meant she'd been lying there for nearly a full day. Alone. Abandoned. Forgotten. I immediately grabbed my phone. "I'm calling 911. But before I could dial, Grandma grabbed my wrist. Her hand was weak, yet surprisingly firm. "No," she whispered. I stared at her. "What do you mean no?" Her eyes filled with sadness. "Not yet." I didn't understand. Then she slowly reached inside her sweater pocket and pressed something into my palm. A small silver key. I looked at it. "Grandma, what's this?" She glanced toward the hallway. After they left, she paused. They thought I was asleep. My chest tightened. What she said next made my blood boil. The secret they thought was hidden. Grandma took several shaky breaths. Then she told me everything. 2 months earlier, she'd updated her will. She never told anyone except her lawyer. Not even me. Apparently, my parents had somehow found out. And they weren't happy. For years, they'd treated Grandma like a burden. They rarely visited, rarely called, rarely helped. But they loved talking about what they'd inherit one day. The house, the savings, the family land, everything. When Grandma changed the will, she noticed their behavior becoming strange. More secretive, more desperate. Then, a week before Thanksgiving, she overheard a conversation. One that was never meant for her ears. My father had laughed and said, "She won't be around forever anyway." Grandma said hearing those words hurt more than anything. But then she told me the real reason she'd stopped me from calling 911 immediately. The silver key. It belonged to a lockbox at the local bank. Inside was proof. Letters. Documents. Recordings. Everything. Evidence of things my parents never wanted exposed. And Grandma wanted me to see it before anyone else did. Because if something happened to her, someone needed to know the truth. I looked at her trembling hands, at the tears in her eyes, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly angry at my own family. The lockbox. After paramedics finally took Grandma to the hospital, I couldn't stop thinking about the key. The next morning, I went to the bank. The manager confirmed the lockbox belonged to Grandma. And because she had already listed me as an authorized person, they allowed me access. When the box opened, my hands started shaking. Inside were folders, USB drives, legal papers, and a handwritten letter. The letter was addressed to me. I opened it first. It began, "If you're reading this, then the people I trusted most have disappointed me again." Tears filled my eyes. Grandma explained everything. For years, My parents had borrowed money from her. Thousands of dollars. Promises were made. None were kept. They even pressured her into signing papers she didn't understand. But she had become suspicious. So she documented everything. Every conversation. Every request. Every lie. The recordings were devastating. I listened in disbelief. There was my father talking about selling Grandma's house. My brother discussing inheritance before Grandma was even gone. My mother calling her an obstacle. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And suddenly I understood. The Thanksgiving trip wasn't random. They had left her behind on purpose. Because they thought she was powerless. What they didn't know was that Grandma had already prepared for this moment. A week later, my family returned from Cancun. Sunburned. Relaxed. Smiling. As if nothing had happened. The moment they walked into the house, they saw me sitting at the dining table, waiting. My father looked confused. "Where's Grandma?" I stared at him. "The hospital." The room went silent. My mother's face turned pale. "What happened?" I stood up. "You tell me." Nobody answered. I could see panic growing in their eyes. Then I placed a folder on the table. The first recording began playing. My father's voice filled the room. His jokes. His comments. His plans. Every word. Every betrayal. The color drained from everyone's face. My brother couldn't even look at me. My mother started crying. But not because she felt guilty. Because she got caught. For the next hour, I revealed everything. The recordings. The documents. The evidence. Every secret. Every lie. Every selfish decision. And for the first time, nobody had an excuse. Grandma's final move. Just when they thought things couldn't get worse, I handed them one final envelope. Grandma's lawyer had prepared it. Inside was the updated will. The real one. My father opened it, his hands shaking. Then he started reading. And stopped. The room fell silent. My mother grabbed the papers. Her eyes widened. "What is this?" I already knew, because I'd read it days earlier. Grandma had removed them all. Every single one. No inheritance. No property. No savings. Nothing. Instead, most of her estate would go toward charities she cared about. The remaining portion was placed in a trust. One designed to help future students pay for college. My family's names were nowhere on it. The only thing Grandma left them was a letter. One sentence. A sentence I'll never forget. The people who abandon family don't deserve to benefit from family. Nobody spoke. Nobody argued. Because there was nothing left to say. The truth had already spoken for them. The day justice arrived. Over the following months, everything changed. Word spread through the family. Relatives learned what happened. Friends learned what happened. The story couldn't be hidden anymore. People who once defended my parents began distancing themselves. Trust disappeared. Their reputation collapsed. Not because of revenge. Because of their own actions. Meanwhile, Grandma slowly recovered. Physical therapy was difficult. Some days were painful. But she never gave up. Every week I visited her. Every week she smiled a little more. And every week I realized something important. Justice doesn't always arrive in dramatic ways. Sometimes justice is simply the truth finally being seen. My family spent years believing nobody would hold them accountable. They were wrong. The moment the truth came into the light, everything changed. Resolution and moral. 1 year later, Grandma and I sat together on Thanksgiving. A small dinner. Just the two of us. No drama. No lies. No pretending. Just peace. As we ate, she looked at me and smiled. "You came home at exactly the right time." I smiled back. Maybe I had. Sometimes life gives us moments that reveal who people really are. Moments that expose hidden selfishness. Moments that show us who truly values family. My parents thought they could leave responsibility behind and enjoy a vacation. Instead, they exposed their real character. And in the end, that cost them far more than money. It cost them trust, respect, and the relationship they could have had with Grandma. If there's one lesson I learned from all of this, it's simple. Family isn't proven by words. It's proven by actions. Because when someone needs you most, That's when your true character appears. And sooner or later, the truth always finds its way home.
The end.
VidIQ.